All right. Thank you for coming out tonight. The Town of Mount Pleasant Planning Board meeting regularly scheduled for August 17th, 2026, 7:30 PM. We have business items and a new application. It is a rather light application tonight, so we'll get right into it. Adoption of minutes from the 7/2/26, 7/20/26, and 8/6/26 meetings. I'm going to do those individually. For the 7/2/26 meeting, any questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion from Eileen. Second from, I heard to JD. Second from JD. Walter?
Aye.
Jean?
I'm recusing myself, I was not there.
Eileen?
Aye.
Oh, John? I missed John.
Aye.
Steve? Oh, and Steve's not here. I'm all confused today in JD. Ignore the man behind the screen, like the Wizard of Oz. Okay, so an aye for me. Okay, next up is the 7/20/26 minutes. Any questions or comments? Take a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes of the 7:20 meeting.
Motion from Eileen,
Second?
second from Jean. Walter?
I recuse myself.
Okay, Jean.
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
JD?
Aye.
And aye for me. And finally, adoption of minutes from the 8/6/2026 meeting. Any questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Eileen,
Second.
second from Walter. Walter?
Aye.
Jean?
I'm recusing myself.
John?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
JD?
Aye.
And I'm recusing myself as well because I was one meeting I did miss. Okay. Consider adoption of resolution of approval for subdivision application PSD 26-6, a lot line change for the dedication of .23 acres of land in the town of Mount Pleasant to 780 King Street from 790 King Street, and in return the dedication of .22 acres of land in the town of Newcastle to 790 King Street from 780 King Street. 790 and 780 King Street, Chappaqua 100.17-1, -30, 31, 32, and 33, Town of Mount Pleasant 108.5-5, 108.5-1-10, 108.5-1-1, and 108.05-1-9, Town of Newcastle, Laura Michael Strober, Claire and Joseph Dunn. Okay, so that's a long one, but that's the adoption of resolution for King Street. I'm just going to paraphrase it down to the lot line change between those two homes.
Make a motion to consider to adopt the resolution.
Motion from John.
Wait, can I just ask that we put in a whereas clause that says that the proposed lot line adjustment creates more regular lots and increases the conformity with dimensional requirements of the R120 4D district? Yeah?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Eileen sent the note earlier today. That's a good comment. It just reinforces why we're doing that. So I think that's totally fine. There was also a blank in the resolution about the date of the final plat. They gave that to us on Friday, so we have the correct date as well. So you can adopt that subject to those two modifications.
Okay, so we have a motion from John, I guess it's subject to, I'm sure John would say, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then we have a second?
Second.
Second from Eileen. Walter,
Aye.
Jane,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Eileen,
Aye.
JD,
Aye.
and an aye for me. Okay, that was easy. Request for a 6-month extension of the resolution of approval for site plan application PSP 25-01, wetland application W25-01, and steep slope application SS 25-01 for an NYC DEP Kensico Eastview Connection KEC contract for shoreline stabilization of the Kensico Reservoir to protect an additional 1,600 linear feet from storm-related turbidity near the reservoir intake upper effluent chamber, including the removal of accumulated sediments in support of the existing water supply use, grading and tree removal within the 50-foot wetland buffer, 117.11-3-1, 0 Westlake Drive, Valley, New York, NYC DEP. Okay, so that's a 6-month extension, and that's been around for a while, and they're doing whatever they're doing.
So this is a little bit unusual in that the DEP is requiring the contractor to pay for their building permit fees. The contractor required an invoice from the town to pay the fees, so there's back and forth, and then the DEP has to approve that from the contractor. So it's a convoluted way, but they haven't paid their fees yet, so they need the
It's
extra
all back
specific-
office
That's really all it is.
minutia.
But that's a first one, that's a new one for us. That
That's,
Somebody hasn't paid their fees on time.
that just sounded like Mike McLaughlin minutia, was a word he would use.
Yeah.
Okay. So any questions or comments on that? Okay, we'll take a motion.
What is the motion? We're, make-
6-month extension.
that you write a resolution for that?
We
Or
don't, we do it as a motion to the board that goes in the
Okay.
minutes.
I make a motion to approve the 6-month extension of the resolution of approval.
Motion from Eileen,
Second.
second from JD. Walter,
Aye.
Jane,
Aye.
John.
I'll recuse myself.
John recused himself. Eileen,
Aye.
JD,
Aye.
and I for me. Okay. We're good to go on that. It's an aye from me. New applications, proposed 20 Dogwood Lane, construction of a single-family dwelling house located to minimize grading to be set at the base of the rock slope for minimal rock removal, erosion, and sediment control plan is proposed along with stormwater management. Application steep slopes PLSS 26-11, wetlands PLW 26-3, location 20 Dogwood Lane, Barcliff Manor, section block lot numbers 98.16-2-14, zone R40, owner and architect is Benjamin Porto, engineer, architect Cronin Engineering. Welcome.
Good evening, Steve Marino, Principal with Tim Miller Associates. I'm the wetlands part of this application. With me this evening is Patrick Bell of Cronin Engineering. He'll be talking about the steep slopes part of the application, and also with us is Mr. Porto, the owner of the property. We are here before the board for both a wetland permit and a steep slopes permit for the construction of a new residential dwelling at the end of, at the very end of Dogwood Lane. The property, as you can see, is a long, narrow parcel with a kind of an odd geometry at the entrance to the property, and then a wider area at the rear. Back in May of last year, I delineated the wetlands on the site. There's a small pocket of wetlands intermixed with some rock, exposed surface rock at the front of the site. There's a watercourse about 100 feet into the property, and beyond that, there's upland area which leads to the proposed residential portion of the property. And here you can see colored is the steep slope area in the back of the property. Our proposal is to cross the wetland and stream coming in off Dogwood Lane. If you've seen the property, when you see the property, you'll see that there's really no access to the buildable part of the parcel without crossing wetlands and or streams. What we've done is we've worked to where the narrowest portion of the wetland is where the stream crossing will be, and are proposing a bridge, a 20-foot long bridge that will actually span the entire stream, so there'll be no direct stream disturbance. Beyond the stream crossing, we have a driveway that leads to the back, and then Mr. Porter, who's an architect, is in the process of designing a residence to be placed right at the toe of that steep slope area there. There's enough room on the property to build the residence he envisions without going very far into that rock in the back there. The crossing of the wetland and the stream will require about 1,600 square feet, a small amount of disturbance to the wetland. Like I said, we picked a narrow portion in order to cross there. Total within the 100-foot buffer, or within the 100-foot buffer, is about 17,000 feet. We recognize that Mount Pleasant has a 50-foot buffer currently, but we're thinking ahead. We understand that the 100-foot buffer is in the near future. So, we're conceding that and building our project based on that 100-foot setback. Along with the residence, the house built in the back of the property, we have stormwater management proposed to pick up runoff off the driveway. The driveway itself will be gravel, so there'll be minimal runoff from that area, but there's runoff coming off the roof of the house, et cetera. So we have stormwater proposed in the area to the east of the proposed residence. Stormwater management will be taken care of on site. And then as part of the disturbance within the wetland area and buffer, we're proposing a mitigation plan which will include enhancement of the native species that are already on the site with trees and shrubs and other planted material along the length of the driveway as you get to the house, all within the 100-foot buffer. We've received memos both from Mr. Cleary as well as the town's wetland consultant. I know that wetland consultant was out there today. We only received the comments as we were walking in. I believe that most of the questions that the wetland consultant answers, is asking, is already contained within in our complete wetland package, which was submitted. But we'll be sure to respond point by point to those comments. And I think Mr. Bell then can now just kind of briefly touch on the steep slopes aspect, and then we're certainly open to any questions from the board.
Thanks, Steve. Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. Yeah, the residence was placed in an area to try to minimize the disturbance of steep slopes as much as possible, while still providing areas for stormwater mitigation and the applicant reasonable use of the property. There is no basement associated with the residence, so there's not going to be any excavation. There is some grading on the backside of the residence into the steep slopes, but we tried to minimize that as much as possible while still fitting the residence on there. And the comments that we received from Mr. Cleary, I believe that they're contained within our plans, but we will address those in response.
Okay. Thank you.
You want variance?
I just want to make a couple other
Yeah.
quick points. With regards to the comments from your consultant, he did ask that a mitigation plan be prepared. There is a mitigation plan which has already been prepared. This is it right here, which is in the package you received. In the package, there's also an illustration of what the residence will look like and how it fits into the property. So I think it'd be a great idea for you to take a look at that while you're going through the application package. The memo references the stream on the property as being a trout stream. We don't believe that's the case. We've had discussions with the DEC. It's our understanding that that's a Class C stream, not a Class BT stream, which would be for trout and which would require a higher level of stormwater management. But we'll look into that again just to confirm that. We've contacted the DEC. You may recall that when we first started looking at this property, the new DEC regulations were in effect that required us to look at smaller properties and smaller wetlands in terms of what might be regulated by the DEC. We have received correspondence from the DEC that this property does not fall under those new regulations. And now since we got that response, the new regulations have been thrown out by the courts anyway, so it's kind of a moot point. But in any case, the wetland on the site is not regulated by the DEC.
And the CIC has been pulled into this conversation, right?
I don't see Steve here tonight, but they've gotten a referral.
Okay.
One thing I would mention, Mr. Chairman, so we haven't heard from Dave Smith yet, so there's two things that, Steve, you didn't mention, which is the bridge that will span the wetland. It's a water course where there could be, the foundations or the footings may have some influence on flood storage in that area, so we need to understand if it's being displaced. If it is, you gotta restore it somewhere else. And the other thing that wasn't clear is utilities that are being brought into the house. So this is the only spot on the site you could put a house. They found the right spot. The site's constrained in every way, but the one spot they found for the house is an appropriate location. But getting it requires that bridging. But sewer, water, how is that getting in there? Is that on the bridge? Is it under the bridge? That needs to be explained to us.
Well, that's another important point too, thanks Pat, is that we've worked with the Village of Briarcliff Manor. Public water and sewer are available in Dogwood Lane, so we don't need to worry about wells, we don't need to worry about septic systems on site. So we are able to tie into the,
But will the utility lines go under the stream? Will they go, because they indicate, 4 feet down, but you're going to dig under, you're going to divert the, how do you do that?
as we finalize the details, we'll confirm how it's going, whether it's going to go into the stream or whether it's going to be hung underneath the bridge.
Okay.
There are different ways to do that. And I think one other thing that Pat had brought up when we had a previous informal discussion is that because of the way the lot lines are set up on the property actually is not conforming to zoning. There's a setback issue. We need a 60-foot setback not from the street, but from this property line here.
You got 25 right now.
I think 20 or
Yeah.
25.
Can
So
you
we need a
explain that?
variance.
Because the house is 300 feet back from the front property line. Why is that interior?
Sal is considering the back interior line is also a front yard.
Because it's parallel, or generally parallel to,
That's
okay.
So we were concerned about that.
So you
certainly.
still need a variant,
So
okay.
one thing we would ask tonight, I think, is that the board refers to the ZBA to start the process of getting the variance. And then certainly, once we have the variance in hand, we'll be back to
But I
finalize
do
things.
think we want to knock on Steve Cappy's door,
And Dave Smith, you need.
and Dave Smith, and because I think if there's something from the CAC, I think the ZBA should also have that as an input. But I would, I know Kellen came out tonight. Kellen, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, can you show me the mitigation plan?
Sure.
Did you submitted this? I didn't get this in the packet.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
It sounded like from your memo
Yeah.
that you didn't get some of the stuff that we
Yeah,
had
I didn't
submitted.
get this in my packet, so that's good. You have here.
What page is that?
This is wetland mitigation.
It says site plan.
This is June 25th of 2026.
Utility and grading plan?
Utility and grading plan was the base map for the mitigation plan, yes.
So for me, I think I'd like more information on your delineation,
Mhm.
some photos, just to give the board some information on what it currently looks like. Because when I was there, I saw some skunk cabbage, I saw some ferns within the rock.
Yes,
So just to confirm if that's a flood storage
So-
area or if that's part of your.
So I'm going to ask a small favor. Anybody who's speaking, just grab the mic because
Oh, sorry.
people actually do listen to us. You can just pull right off the top of that thing. Just pull hard. There you go.
So what I was saying is, I think it would be good for the applicant to provide some photos, the delineation sheets, if you did any Army Corps sheets. If you took any soil samples, that would be good. I know on the rock it's difficult, but I know when I visited up in the rock outcropping, there were some obligate species in there today, and it looks like there's some sort of flood storage within that area, or even before you're crossing here. So that's my concern right in here, where you're talking about your infiltration garden. Because also the rock kind of comes this way towards, I know there's kind of a little ebb right here, but there's a lot of rock in this area. It's not just this little tiny piece. There's a lot of rock on there.
No, this is all rock through here, and
Yeah.
a lot on the other side of the stream as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the whole thing right in there is rock. So how are you going to chip that out within the 50-foot? Are you going to remove it with, heavy machinery? I think that kind of that methodology is going to be key.
Sure.
And then how you're going to span that stream, per the DEC requirements. And then your utilities, where you're going to place those utilities. And then I think this is good to have because I didn't see this before. So thank you for that.
In the package that we submitted, there are, thank you. In the package that we submitted, there are a number of photographs of the site. There's a representative photo of the bridge that's going to be used on the site. So I think once Kellen gets a chance to really go through our package, I think he'll get a lot of the answers he's looking for.
And I'm going to ask you a leading question that I know the answer to.
Uh-oh.
But I want to say, in case anybody's watching, is there a reasonable way to put access to that drive, to that house any other way?
No.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think, and obviously, that's the most important consideration. It's the wetland spans right across the front of the property along the street, and then there's the stream does the same thing, west to east, or east to west. So really, the only way to get to that portion, that buildable part of the site is by crossing.
And the reason I asked that question, it was a leading question, because we do take, and I'm sure you do too, the wetland issues seriously, and I don't want the public, if they are watching, to think that we're minimizing the impact of wetlands and all of that. So I want to make sure that we're aware of the fact there's really no reasonable alternatives to this.
We
point.
believe that we are in, and we've designed this to minimize those impacts. Like I said, we're crossing at the narrowest portion of the flagged wetland. The driveway is as narrow as it can be. It's going to be gravel rather than asphalt. We're spanning the stream with a bridge rather than putting a culvert in the stream and crossing over it that way.
And what are the plants you're going to do in the wetland or anything? Are you going to do any plants in the wetland?
There's going to be plants in the wetland, along the edge of the wetland, and all the way up the driveway within the 100 feet on both sides, so that we can supplement the vegetation that's already out there.
So the only important thing is, if this ever does go down to becoming a reality, we have to make sure that any future homeowner or this homeowner knows that this is it.
Mhm.
Meaning, no more, I want to make the bridge wider, I want to put a hot tub in there, I wanted this, I wanted that, whatever they want to do.
Sure.
So, and only because I've been on the board for a long time, people come back to us and they say they want to make a bigger, better, different. We just want to make sure that's understood.
Yep.
A walking trail, yeah.
A walking trail.
A 12-foot wide paved walking trail. Yeah.
I think also, maybe a construction some sort of hard barrier, you know, to ensure that, you know, any construction vehicles coming in to, you know, create this house. I think making sure that they have to stay
So-
on this narrow path.
Let me ask you this other question now. So if in the inclement weather, you're throwing salt and sand on that driveway, and you're plowing that driveway, where's that salt and sand going?
Yeah, that's the other question.
Sorry to miss that.
So, now, and I'm just predicting the questions that are gonna come to us.
Mhm.
So if you're, especially from our CEC, they're very, very thorough. So as an example, if you're putting salt and sand onto that driveway, and you're plowing that driveway, and now when you plow, the snow goes into the stream. So is that salt and sand going into that stream?
We will look at that and figure out a way to manage the salt and sand as it, or at least plowing, snow management. We'll come up with a plan for
And
snow
there's no
management.
plan to put pesticides, herbicides, or anything like that
No,
around?
I mean,
It's all wooded, right?
it, you know, it's all wooded and it's fully the intention to keep it a natural site. As you can see, there's, around the house, and you'll see when you look at, actually, I'll show you right now. That's an illustration of the residence as it's proposed. It's got a gravel pad around it. This is the garage here, built right up against that rock outcropping in the back of the site. And, you know, existing stone walls will remain or be restored. A small patio area right in front
Yeah,
for,
yeah,
and that's really it.
And here's my take on it. I'm never concerned about the person who's doing the development.
Mhm.
You make it 20, 30 years. I'm always concerned about the guy who moves in after you. And what I like to do is just document everything. So if we want to make sure that whatever we do documents the fact that this was the intent of the board in protecting the environment, protecting the woods, protecting the stream, and that it was this board's decision at that time to make that decision based on that fact. And if you're in the house for 20 years, God willing, 30 years, God willing, whatever the number of years you want to be there, and somebody else buys the house and then wants to knock down all those trees, we want to document in that resolution that was not the intent of this board.
Well, you know, our intention. Mr. Porto supports that as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's our intention in terms of documenting everything. We will respond to questions we've gotten both from Pat and Kellen in writing so that everything's on the record, and then the board certainly in their resolution, when we get to that, hopefully,
Okay.
we'll have, you know, specific conditions for that.
So we do need to get some stuff from Dave. I do think we should he's probably new to the CAC, but I want to make sure we get the CAC engaged. And that's it.
Chairman, I think if the town has a mechanism, if the property changes hands, if there's a flag on that to say, okay, this new owner has to, you know, sign an agreement or whatever, an acknowledgement to say, you know, we understand that we cannot do X, Y, and Z, you know, perhaps
Yeah,
Pat could
this is an
advise you.
unusual application, just for what Steve described here. This is a gravel driveway, they're not plowing it. So they're gonna be inclined to use salt or other mechanisms that may not be necessarily appropriate next to the stream. So that protocol needs to be clearly established between those two smart guys, and then the future owners need to know about that. So I like Kellen's suggestion, which is like we do with accessory apartments. If it changes hands, gotta come back to you and the new owner, and you get to say new owner, make sure you do the following protocols.
Right. Because we've been burnt a couple times over the years.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you think about, or if you haven't already, how are you going to get rid of the rock? That's where your driveway is, at the back of the house. It looks like you're going to have to, are you going to chip, or are you going to blast? Those things are,
We
And-
brought our engineer for just such a
okay.
question.
But also, probably related, did you do any kind of perk test to see whether that stormwater detention is going to work, or your stormwater? Because if that's just the exposed rock, then there's rock, you know, a foot below. Have you looked
We
into
haven't
that
done
yet?
the
Okay.
field testing to this point, but we will get that completed. In regards to the rock, the removal will be by chipping. We don't propose to blast it. And then to whatever extent we can use the rock on site, we will. Otherwise, it'll be trucked off site.
Okay, thank you.
Question, are you designing this bridge for truck and construction loading?
Yes.
Yeah, so just cool, that
And
needs to
heavy
be,
machinery?
Fire.
Right. And coordinating with the fire department too, so whatever vehicle, their worst-case vehicle, they're gonna tell you what that is, so you gotta accommodate their loads, not your loads.
I'll defer to the applicant on that, but I believe that's all accounted for, will be accounted for.
Because those loads can be significantly more substantial than your normal SUV or vehicle. Particularly if you're hauling,
Designation that says something 92, whatever the number is, that's what it is.
Yeah, the fire department will tell you what it
Yes,
is.
that, it's for that.
you may have like an H loading, an HS loading.
I mean, even just to build the house, you need all of that.
But it,
Amplifier to get to take care of us.
but I have to say, I do enjoy the fact that that house is not a typical house, and it's gonna blend in better than some of these stick-built houses that are just gigantic homes, and so it looks nice.
Which I would point out, Mr. Chairman, is encouraging because it's not as though they're just sort of sticking something on the site. It's designed for this unique site,
Yeah,
which makes, at least this applicant is demonstrating the sensitivity. Whether the future owner is gonna maintain that or not, but clearly these guys got it.
So I know-
The way they've designed it.
I know who you are, just for the record, for people who watch, just say who you are.
Sorry, this is Ben Porto, architect and owner of the property. Just to
Thank you.
answer that question on audio, the HL93 is the designation for the bridge to support or vehicles, fire department, that level stuff.
Okay. Okay, anything else from the rest of the board?
So we gotta recommend them to the ZBA?
Do you
think
want to
you're-
send them
you're
to ZBA or wait for the comments from?
Normally you get at least Dave and CAC's comments before you do the referral. That's your typical procedure.
I would err on the side of caution because of, I want to make sure we get the CAC comments and Dave's comments, and that's me.
That's fine.
Okay, so no motion needs to be made, we're just waiting, okay.
Yep.
All right,
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
wait for
See.
Dave's comments.
All right, guys, that's it.
Motion
you very
to
much.
close the meeting.
Motion, I'll just say motion carried. Just do the whole thing. So,